So, couple more days left until the release of, in my opinion, the best looking Souls-like game so far. In my previous video I talked about some general info about Bleak Faith Forsaken, some kind of short preview, and in this one we will go a little bit deeper and we will talk about combat, character creation and progression, some gameplay details, etc. A little introduction for anyone who have not heard about this game so far and is lazy enough to check my previous video. Bleak Faith Forsaken is an upcoming Souls-like survival RPG developed by Archangel Studios. What is really amazing is the fact that in Archangel Studios, behind this game works only 3 people. We can't even imagine how much effort they are putting into this game, and Bleak Faith is a really ambitious project. Now, when it comes to the story, I need to apologize to everyone cause my source was mistaken and I somehow gave a little bit wrong information about the story in that video. Big thanks to Morgat99 for noticing the mistake and quickly informing me. One more time, huge thanks brother, I appreciate. Luckily, I had a chance to watch some gameplay from first hand and learn some details, so we will fix that mistake from previous video in this one. Story takes place in a seemingly open world homely structure. It seems that the world is made amazingly good and it's a lot similar to Dark Souls 1 world, not only because its look, but because of its interconnection too. You take a role of a rogue commander, and it seems the desperate crusade rages in a fringal imperial colony. At its heart lies the anomaly cut off by you, a rogue commander. As the game says, yet in depths of the Omni structure, things are rarely as they seem. What this means is that at the beginning, the game tells you absolutely nothing about the story, same thing as in Dark Souls games. It will give you some infos, mostly useless at the start, and throughout the game you will come across a couple of NPCs that will slowly explain you what's going on, but the important thing now is that at the beginning you are a rogue commander fighting bad guys in a raging crusade. Okay, long story short, survive, kill the bad guys and possibly save the world. Now the more important thing is the details related to gameplay itself. First, let's start with character creation and character progression. Considering Bleak Faith is a role-playing game, we all expect some crucial RPG elements, like character stats for example. In Bleak Faith, we will have stats that will affect our gameplay, but there will be no ordinary leveling system. Now, what the developers have done is that they connected all these elements, equipment, stats and leveling progression, and that looks absolutely perfect. So, considering there is no regular leveling system, and you won't level up while killing enemies and doing quests, what's gonna happen is that you will constantly come across new items, weapons, parts of gear, etc. And with every new better item, your stats will improve, something like item level. This is a great feature in my opinion, cause it will take a little deviate from what we are used to seeing in almost every RPG, plus to that, I love equipment grinding in games. This feature will also affect exploring, considering you will constantly wander around and look for some loot. What I find really amazing is the fact that there won't be duplicate items in the game. That means you won't be able to come across the same item twice, and every item you loot, from killing enemies or from random loot in the world, will actually be a unique one. This is so good, actually it's brilliant. I cannot describe you how much I love to know that every time I loot I will find something new and unique. Also, don't worry that there won't be enough items in the game. From what I've heard, there will be tons of armor pieces and weapons you'll be able to find and loot. This doesn't mean there are no classes in the game. Actually, at the beginning, you'll be able to choose one specific class you want to play and you can modify it throughout the game, but be careful when you're choosing. Some core features of that specific class cannot be changed and when you decide, it cannot be undone. So we found that we would have plenty of armors in the game, but what about weapons? Now that's the part where things go in an amazing direction. You'll be able to use one-handed or two-handed swords, axes, maces, staffs, spears, shields, twin blades, daggers if you want to go stealthy, bow for ranged combat, whatever your playstyle and needs require. So there will be a weapon for any playstyle, and yes, there will also be a lot of different and unique weapons in the game, and the best thing related to weapons is that almost every single one will give you some unique ability. That feature is so good, it gives us opportunity to play on so many different ways, to combine different weapons with your class, and it gives hope that combat and gameplay in general won't be boring at all. When I mentioned combat, there are some good words for combat too. Here is what the developers have to say about combat. Expect tight and meticulously crafted and expanded combat that brings tempo and action to this world in amazing quality and detail. We are not shying away from a challenge, and so we are going all in. Despite being a small team, we couldn't accept a simple mundane combat system, we are making it fleshed out and very robust. The combat communicates the danger in adrenaline-pumping fashion. Fast, responsive, and unforgiving, you will learn and feel every victory. Nothing comes easy. Approach combat in your own way, however. Choose stealth over face-to-face combat, choose ranged over melee, choose technomancy over more traditional combat styles. The system allows you to express yourself through combat or through avoiding it, and that's further supported through a class system as well. So, Bleak Faith have action combat system that can easily remind you on Dark Souls. It's unforgivable, a little bit harder to master, but so good looking to be honest. As I already mentioned, the combat depends on chosen weapon a lot, it almost completely revolves around it. Almost any playstyle you can imagine you can apply with right weapon. Also, all the abilities, and there will be a lot of interesting ones, use Flux as a resource, which is basically mana, so besides heavy two-handed smasher, stealthy rogue killer or some kind of ranger with bow, you will also be able to play as mage. Besides some regular combat features like step dodging, rolling or parrying, there are also one not that often seen feature. Bleak Faith have one interesting mechanic that will allow you to climb on bigger enemies and actually stab them in the back. From what I've heard, it seems that this mechanic is essential when you fight big enemies. Also, you can use your shield or any possible weapon to parry enemy attack, but you cannot parry bosses. One really interesting feature related to enemies is that the game will begin to spawn new enemies in zones you already explored and cleared. This starts after you kill a specific boss in the game, so coming back to the zone you already been to actually won't be boring and you can always find some new loot. Besides combat, one, in my opinion, a really important segment is exploring. The world of Bleak Faith is really huge, maybe even bigger than the one in Dark Souls 1, considering people say it reminds them of the world in Dark Souls. It's heavily interconnected and you will constantly have opportunity to choose 1, 2 or even 3 different paths. Also, following some path can, besides leading you to some new location, lead you to the point where you actually started. Therefore, you will constantly find new shortcuts, and yes, you will definitely need them, cause there is no fast travel option in the game. When it comes to upgrading, for all of you that love that feature in the games, crafting is included in Bleak Faith too. While playing the game, you will not be able to find a fully upgraded item. In order to have one, you will need to craft it, and to be able to do that, you will need to find certain materials and visit certain NPC to be able to craft and upgrade your items. Although the world in Bleak Faith, with all the buildings and structures, remind a lot on Dark Souls 1, there are a couple of open areas too. There has been some talking about multiplayer or co-op, but as far as I know, the game will be only single player. Bleak Faith is a really ambitious project, it looks absolutely stunning considering the size of a team. I cannot say that I tried the game, but I've seen some gameplay and discussed with someone who had the opportunity to play it, and guys, no matter what your expectations are, you will definitely like this game, I'm more than sure. I will be playing this game and I will be covering it on this channel, so if you're interested, make sure you press that subscribe button. Also, if you find this video interesting and useful, a like would be super appreciated so it can reach more people. That would be all, and I'll see you in the next one.